Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another installment of Flyera, Gonna Flyer, our 70th episode, officially at the big 7-0. Really, time flies, as I've stated in other big milestone episodes. As usual, we do have a good one for you this week. Unfortunately, it was not a good week for the Flyers again. After having a nice 2-1 or 2-0-1 bounce back week on the West Coast trip, we all started to think maybe there's some hope. If you beat the Islanders, you're tied for a playoff spot again. Well, that went out the window real quick, and they went 0-3-1 this week, losing all 4 games, maybe only looking semi-competent in 2 of them. It was a really bad week. We're going to go over that disastrous week again, talk about, is it time to wave the white flag on the season, where this thing stands, and who they could potentially sell, if so. And Travis Konecny, he had a very interesting interview at the end of the Boston game last week. That was kind of a depressing, distraught interview, and kind of makes us open our eyes, and maybe even his own as well, of what his future may look like. And then, as always, we'll go over next week's games. Thank God we're hitting a 3-week break, huh, Eric? We friggin' need this.
I think we need to step back a little bit.
We need a drink is what we need. As always, with me is one of my 2 gracious co-hosts. You know him, you love him, Mr. Eric Martino. Eric, how we doing today, bud?
Well, you know what, Alex? Could be a little better. It wasn't a great week for Flyers hockey, so that was kind of a letdown. But you know what? Hey, like you said, we got 3 weeks coming where we don't have to watch this team play. So 2 more games.
The best news I've heard all year. I don't have to watch Rick Tocchet's face for 3 weeks. You know what the Flyers need? They need some sensu beans right now because they're all completely wiped out, completely out of energy. This will revive them. This will get them going. Too bad we're not in Dragon Ball Z. And
sure.
is it flag waving time? Rick Tocchet's face in that picture kind of describes everything you need to know. And before we start, I do want to mention one thing for those who don't know. 2 weeks from now, we are going to be having a live stream episode. We're going to be having Jim Jackson back on the show. As of now, on February 16th, 7 p.m., that is subject to change. It's all based off of his schedule, so we'll see. I'm going to talk. I've been in touch with him over the last few weeks. I'm going to message him again maybe a week before the show just to make sure Monday is still okay. Then maybe a day or 2 beforehand just to make sure everything's okay as well. But as of right now, we plan on having Jim Jackson on the show in a live stream on February 16th. And we're going to be talking about everything that's going on with this team and just having another cool interview with him. We had him on earlier this year. Take a look at our live stream section of our YouTube channel. You can see the first interview we had with him. He was an absolute pleasure to have on. We had him on for almost an hour and a half. We're going to have him on again. Hopefully, maybe just as long. Check the QR code if you want to see the first interview on the top left-hand corner of said screen. But with that being said, let's get right into this week. Eric, let me leave it off with you. What did you think about the Terror Week known as the last week of January for the Philadelphia Flyers?
Yeah, wasn't the greatest week for the Flyers. I have to.
Lightly.
That's putting it very nicely. Like just not good at all. Like, yeah, look, like the Colorado win, like, man, like such a big win, like, to get morale going, like after you come off like last week with like look, they beat Vegas also last week. They had a good road trip, like you said. Like they went, 2-0-1 in that 3-game road trip out west, but like we said last week, like the Vegas game, they didn't play that great. The Mammoth game kind of wasn't great either. And then Colorado, yeah, like we beat Colorado. And that's why you like, oh my God, okay, maybe they're turning things around, And actually, quick little interesting fact, Colorado has 7 losses on the season. 6 of those losses are against teams in the East, which is kind of weird.
All 3 of our teams in this podcast beat them in regulation. Isn't that funny? In this channel.
It's nuts. It's nuts. So like you said, like, you're going against the Islanders. Like the Islanders, them too, they've been like struggling a little bit, and we couldn't show up for that game. Like that's just another theme of this week is like they just don't show up. Like I don't know, like they're not ready to play, and not like who's that on? Is that on the players? Is that on the coach? Like personally, for me, like it goes both ways, right? You have to put as much blame on the coach as you can on the players. Like, yes, I understand your players. You have to you have to motivate yourself, get ready for the game, but at the same time, like I think the coaches. Not only talking. I'm like the coaches, defensive coach, assistant, offensive, whatever. Like these guys got to get you ready to play. And like I just don't understand how like they could look so lifeless at times. It doesn't make sense. And like like not early in the season because we are past the halfway point, but like half a year and now all of a sudden like honestly at times it looks like they quit on the coach. Like it's stupid to say like so early into a season, but like or so early into a tenure, but like I don't know. Is it like honestly? I question myself. I'm like because look, we know that like I know it's not 100% dump and chase. I get it. The system is not 100% dump and chase. It's not. But like it's heavy dump and chase, and we just don't have the wingers to play that style of game. Mm-hmm. And it's like if you want to play a dump and chase game, you can't have wingers like Konecny, like Mishkov, or Zegers when he's on. Like these are smaller like they're gonna lose more often than not. They're gonna lose that battle behind the net, like more often than not. So like you have a team that's built with speed, with skill, and like you don't play to your players' strengths. So that's why I say like. So I don't know if it's just the team is just frustrated with the system, frustrated with the coach. Are they just not ready to play? They're not motivated to play. Does the leadership have to step up? I just honestly, I'm not in the room, so I can't tell you. But like one thing I really felt this week was in a lot of the games is they just looked lifeless, like just absolutely didn't look like they had a care in the world. And honestly, that was my biggest takeaway from this week.
Yeah, I'm going to reiterate a few of the things you said. Lifeless is pretty much the theme of the week. Like that, the Islanders game and the Bruins. I will say the Bruins, maybe not as much, but that Islanders game set the tone for the week. You know, they come off a pretty good road trip out west. You 2-0-1, should have been 3-0 for being honest. If Garnett Hathaway could hit an empty net, it was a week that maybe there was some hope with this team. They made us think this team's really an enigma. Maybe there's an opportunity to turn this around, but they got to realize this is the time to show up. It's now or never. You're 2 points out of the Islanders, and you're looking in the big picture like you have a chance to tie them. Oh, here you are. Fast forward to the end of the week. Now you're suddenly 7 points back of the Islanders and sixth place in the division. So not only do you have to catch the Isles, you also have to catch Washington and Columbus as well, who have now both 3 points up on you. And it was a disaster week for the Flyers, top to bottom. That Islanders game, again, set the tone. I thought that Columbus game, they did show some real fight. Even though they didn't get many shots on net, I felt like they got a lot of real good opportunities, whether it be hitting posts, going just wide. But they set themselves up for good opportunities in that game. They kind of went off to a rough start. Coyle scores less than a minute in his celebration for his 1,000th game. He was like, of course, big moment for a big guy. Of course, he's going to score against the Flyers, steam the Flyers. But Travis Konecny, being a leader, tried to put this team on the back. And I got to give him all the respect in the world this week. You know, after that Isles game, he looked in the mirror and he's like, I got to do what I can as a leader to help this team. 7 points in 3 games, 5 goals, 2 assists. Natural Hattie against Columbus, the team he absolutely owns. I don't think there's a guy who owns a team on this team more than Travis Konecny owns the Columbus Blue Jackets. It's kind of crazy. But, you know, he tried to put this team on the back after being down 3-1. They came back, tied the game at 3. Probably the only real entertaining game of the week before. And Vladar made some ridiculous saves in that third period, too. He had 2 10-bell saves that should have went in. Shades of Ilya Brizgalov in 2012 on that first goal, pretty much glove saving a puck that was right on the goal line. Ridiculous save. But then, of course, defensive breakdown, tap-in goal for Columbus a minute and a half later after Konecny busts his ass to tie the game. Flyers lose it 5-3, kind of set the tone for Boston coming off a back-to-back. Person, as usual, lets in his leaky goals against the Bruins. A game, again, I don't think they played horrible in. They didn't play great, but they played decent enough to at least keep themselves in the game. But when your goalie, again, is having these leaky moments, you really not much you can do. The team doesn't feel like that they can win in front of him. And then finally the Kings game, I personally didn't catch too much of this game. I only caught probably about half of it. but I had stuff to do for the rest of the day after that. I have a question for those. I didn't watch all of this game, so I can't give 100% answer. You relegated Sean Couturier to the fourth line going into that Boston game, which is something that we have clamored for on this show for quite some time now, that, he's cooked. He gives you nothing offensively. We're now on 27 straight games for this $7.75 million a year player without scoring a goal, where he's got 9 assists in that time frame. How did he get over 16 minutes yesterday? But the guy who was fourth on the team in points, who's gotten 4 points in his last 4 games going into that game, got 10 minutes and 21 seconds. Can someone explain that to me? I don't get it. That is inexcusable. I didn't watch the second half of the game, so there's something I missed that you can explain to me, or whoever can explain to me. I'm talking pretty much the fans as a collective whole. Tell me what I missed. How does this happen? That is inexcusable. I don't want to hear conditioning anymore, because today is the beginning of the 5th month of the year. You want to use that in the first month and a half, maybe even 2 months of the year? All right, you can sell me a little bit on that argument. We're almost 4 full months into the year, in the 5th calendar month of the season, as of today, as we're recording this February 1st, that there has been hockey played. You can't use conditioning to me anymore. Why isn't he getting opportunities when he is still producing, despite being 9th on time of ice, being 4th? It's 4th or 5th on this team in points. I think it's 4th. I'd have to look back. How is this happening? What is the excuse at this point? That is malpractice. Give the kid some opportunities, even if you want to keep him in his 15-minute range. Is what it is. I've already waved the white flag. You're not going to be playing him 17, 18 minutes a game, whatever. 10, 21. There is no excuse for that. Over 16 minutes for the guy you put on the fourth line. Is that your safety valve? I don't understand it. This guy gives you nothing offensively. You're playing not to lose.
Exactly.
And then you go into overtime, where you have not played well in all year. You have an opportunity to play that kid who, coincidentally, over the last 4 years, has the most overtime goals on this team, despite playing only about a year and a half in the last 4 years combined. And you're not playing. Can someone explain to me here what we're doing? This, and this goes back to what you say, Aaron. Hold accountability for everyone equally. What are we doing? You want to show you're holding accountability for the 4th seed, yet you're playing him still over fucking 16 minutes a night when the guy fucking gives you nothing offensively. For the sake of him and Couturier need to go this offseason. I know I've said that, and listen, it's not 100% on target. The players need to show up too. I'm 100% with you on that. But this is how you stem seeds of doubt into a locker room, when you're not playing your better players and opportunities to get these guys to win. 10 minutes and 21 seconds is an average of roughly 3 minutes and 40 seconds a period. There is no excuse for that. That is malpractice. I'm at the point that I think Danny needs to look in a mirror and say, I screwed up with this hire, or whoever did, and cut bait after 1 year. That's just me. Hopefully they do it. I don't think they will still, but I do think the odds are higher than 0%.
No, look, Alex, man, you're 100% right. And you're 100% right. And you said what I was about to say, what I want to say. Tocchet plays, instead of playing to win, he plays not to lose. And again, this is my biggest frustration with Tocchet and with where the team is now and what they should be doing. Is at the end of the day, this is a young team with young players that you have to develop. For me, winning is not the primary goal. So look, I just looked at it now, okay? In the last 10 minutes of the third period, Sean Couturier had 5 shifts. Matvei Michkov had 2. Which tells me, again, Tocchet is playing not to lose. But why are we doing this? Do we have cup aspirations this year? No. Are the playoffs a goal? Sure. But it shouldn't be the goal of the season. You could aspire for the playoffs. Yes, that would be a great team. That would be a good thing for this young team. That is not what we should be doing right now. So playing Sean Couturier, who's basically your 4C now because he gives you nothing, 5 shifts after the 10-minute minute of the third makes no fucking sense. It makes no sense. Why? What does it matter? You're already on, like, we're already what? I don't have the numbers in front of me. I'm gonna tell you them after the next segment.
2/3 of the way through the season.
We've won like 2 games in the last like 10, 12, whatever the fuck it is. Like, I get it, fine. You want to try and like maybe give the boys a morale boost and hopefully we win it in overtime or we get a goal. No, like stop. No, stop. Like already that, like, I'll give him credit. I'm gonna give Tocchet credit that he did finally realize that like Coots is giving us absolutely fucking nothing offensively. So let's bump him down to a 4th line role. Great. But now if you're gonna be double shifting him and taking shifts away from somebody else, then what the fuck is the point? Like, what's the point?
It's contradicting. It's contradicting.
And like, look, again, I'll give him a little bit of credit. He did put Zegras. He did put Zegras at center.
Good. About time.
And honestly, what surprised me, because again, like you, like I missed the third period and I missed like the last good bit of the second because my son had a tournament. I had to leave. And when I was the first period and the half of the second, I was watching and I'm like, man, the Zegras Michkov Brink line, man, they were on fire. They were buzzing all game. So then when I saw a tweet at the end after the game, I was like, Michkov had finished with 10 minutes. How is this possible? And then like I'm looking, and that's it. He played 2 shifts the last 10 minutes of the game. He didn't play in overtime. Now, granted, there was only 2 shifts in overtime. Fine, whatever. But like you'd think somebody that's fresh, maybe he should have started overtime. Just saying. You secured your point. What the fuck? Like, who cares? At this, like again, who cares? Play. He's rested. He's one of your better offensive players. Start him in overtime. What are we doing? And like, look, I understand. Like, if you look at it, like I went through the shift chart. He does take short shifts. He does. Michkov takes short shifts. What I want to know, and like right now, like at the carnival and everything, and apparently he's supposed to talk with the PHLY guys. What I want to know, and what I would love them to ask Tocchet, whose idea is this? Is it him like literally coming back to the bench early because like he's out of gas or whatever? Or is it literally like being told to him, like, listen, 30 seconds max? Or something like I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. And I'm very curious. Because like I was looking at his shift chart before from last game. First period, he was taking like long, like normal shifts. I don't want to say long, normal shifts. And then every period, it seems to like dwindle. And where I think it was in the third period, like a couple of his shifts were like 20-something seconds. So now, again, I don't know. Is he really getting tired? Is that the issue? Or is like somebody telling him because, late in the game, they don't trust him or whatever? Matvey, like short shifts. Honestly, I'm really curious. I really want to know, what is it? Which one is it? Because like obviously us fans, we see this and we're presuming it's Tocchet that's telling him this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, but I don't know. I want a clear answer because honestly, for me, like things like this, they just don't make sense. They just don't make sense.
That's the point. Like we're 4 months into the year, 4 months into the season, and you notice that we didn't really hear. We like heard like whispers of it in training camp that someone said that he came in out of shape, and then he actually looked like he kind of. I mean, I don't know if he or his old self because it was a small sample size, but he still looked like a Michkov that we could relate to in preseason. And then suddenly this became a thing at the beginning of the year. Now, obviously, preseason is a small sample size. Not everyone's tuning in, whole 9 yards. You're not playing every night. You're kind of mixing up the lineups. There's only, I think, 7 games or something like that, whatever. So, maybe you can credit it to that. But to use the out of shape argument at this point of the year, that just doesn't make sense to me because you're playing constantly. How are you still out of shape 4 months into the season? Like you're going to get in shape by default, just playing all the damn time and practicing sometimes too, on top of it. It just does not make sense to me. Like if you're going to say he's not where he should be for a February part of the year, okay, I can at least listen to that argument to a slight extent. But it's still not enough to tell me, yeah, he deserves 10 minutes and 21 seconds on a Saturday after having a day off yesterday. It doesn't make sense. And it's contradicting to everything that we've heard here. And the fact that he can answer all these questions about Dvorak and Couturier and Konecny, but when I date back a few months ago when someone asked him a handful of questions about Michkov, he sounds frustrated. Oh, we already got 5 Michkov questions in. That's enough, guys, huh? He is the hope of this team. Him and Porter Martone. And people are going to ask those questions. This is a guy that we're relying on for the future. He's 21 years old. Yes, I understand there are other players on the team. But the younger guys should be the ones getting the opportunities to prove themselves. Trevor Zegras, Jamie Drysdale, Cam York, Matvei Michkov, up to Forster before he went down. You have pieces of your young core here that are 25 and younger that should be getting this ample opportunities. But you're not giving one of the guys are definitely not giving, but it seems like some of the other guys you do. So I don't understand. There's something between him and Tocchet for sure. I don't know if this is, maybe we'll get some answers on PHLY today. Is Tocchet doing this? Is upper management telling him? Is Michkov just still gassed? But I can't see how playing 4 months of an NHL season, not even counting training camp and preseason.
Can I throw out a theory?
Go for it.
And it's just a theory. I'm not saying it's happening. He's a young player. A lot of young players have trouble with nutrition and eating properly. Is it possible that's what he's not eating properly and he is getting gassed at the end of the game? That's my theory. I'm not saying it is.
I understand. It's possible. I don't know what he was doing overseas during the offseason in Russia and Dubai. Who knows? Maybe, is it still the same now? Who knows? Thankfully, he's already stated he's staying here in the offseason and he's staying here for the Olympic break. So that is massive. Next year is the biggest year of his tenure. So we'll see. If this continues next season, I'm slamming the panic button. But he's got the talent. He still shows flashes of said talent that he had, especially in his rookie year all season. But he doesn't do a lot of the stuff that he did last year from his rookie season. He's not taking those shots from the side. We're not seeing those. Not like I really care if he does this or not, but we're not seeing those Michigan moves that we used to saw. We're not seeing those clever passes that he made prior. It's not the same as last year. So, and ladies and gentlemen, we have been joined
I don't know where he is. Hang on a second. I got to find him.
Hold on. We got him in here. Up to the edge.
Oh, I know where he is.
Oh, he's at Flyers Carnival, isn't he?
Oh, shit. We got a rep at the carnival.
We got a rep at the carnival.
Wait. Something happened. Hang on a second. Now who's missing?
Yo. You love him. Mr. Jamey Baskow. Jamey, how you doing today, brother?
Aloha, mahalo. I'm doing pretty good. See, we're at the Bounce Crate.
Oh, I thought you were at the Flyers Carnival.
Man, I thought you were at the carnival.
Birthday party. It was supposed to start a little later, so I apologize for that.
That's all right. Not a big deal. Jamey, while we have you on, why don't you give me a quick 3 to 5 minute recap of what you thought on the Flyers week before we move on to the next topic?
What I think of what the Flyers week was?
Yes.
Well, the rebuild's over. That's the presumption that we have come to. Rick Tocchet was hired to win, and that's why I was against the hiring in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
The moment they hired Rick Tocchet, it's just bad timing. I'm not saying he's a bad coach. It's just bad timing. That signaled that the rebuild was over. He comes in. Danny Briere and Keith Jones are saying, and Dan Hilferty, the rebuild's not over. The rebuild's not over. You hired a Rick Tocchet who plays vets hard. Matvei Michkov, I'm sorry, but that's a fireable offense yesterday with 10 minutes and 21 seconds. Not very happy about that. He talks about him growing his game and stuff, but how can you build confidence and earn the trust of a coach if you don't thrust them into that role? And when you lean hard on vets like Garnett Hathaway, Sean Couturier, where Coots has done nothing over the past 35 games or so, I think it's a bit unfair to hold that on the 21-year-old. The 21-year-old is playing better than Coots. So why isn't he given a larger role, like penalty kill, for instance, or power play? Thrust him into a role that he's not accustomed to, just like Torts used Travis Konecny on the penalty kill. Everyone thought that Travis Konecny couldn't kill penalties. And what does he do? He trusted him in that role. He used him, and he did well. So you're seeing an organization that the rebuild is now complete. This is what you get. They're missing a 1C, 1D from that. The 1D was there to be had in Quinn Hughes. The 1C was there to be had in Jack Eichel from a few years ago. So don't give me the excuse that there hasn't been an opportunity. No, there has been opportunities. It's just the Flyers didn't want to go with those opportunities to obtain. And I'm not mad at the organization or not. This is just, don't sugarcoat things. Don't start, saying one thing and now, when they know it's over, and don't admit, yes, the rebuild is over. Now it's time the subtraction phase is done. This isn't the next stage of the rebuild. The rebuild was already over the moment they hired Rick Tocchet. That's why I was in favor of keeping Brad Shaw for 1 to 2 years. As that signaled that the organization was in the developmental stages still, whether he would do well in that role or not. And again, I'm not taking a dig at Rick Tocchet. What he's doing now, he's trying to win hockey games. So we just have to accept that. He's doing everything in his power to win a game. He's not here to lose. He's here to win, just like Torts. Torts was the same way. They hired Torts well developmental-wise. Some people exceeded, under Torts. Some did not. Just like Tocchet, some are exceeding, some are not. Dvorak is having a career season. Dan Vladar is playing well until recently, and I still think he's a bit hurt. I think he's, obviously been rushed because they don't have anybody in the pipeline. That's not Tocchet's fault, for that. That is, the organization's for, like you always said, what haven't they done the past 2 drafts? Always be drafting a goalie. You said it well.
Mikey's favorite line on Twitter. I can't take credit for that one. Always be drafting goalies.
Yeah, and they haven't done it. That's not Tocchet's fault. That's the organization's fault. You know what I mean? So there's faults of the organization. There's faults of Tocchet as well. Like Tocchet needs to spare the ice time, give more ice time better to players that are playing well. I thought Mafia Miskov was playing well yesterday. Of course he made mistakes, but who didn't make mistakes on the ice? Who didn't when they were down 2-0? How did they get down 2-0? Bad D-zone coverages and stuff like that. But like he's got to be thrusted into a role, and I just don't. The only way he's going to get out of this is building confidence, and he has no confidence. Do you know, somebody made a really good point on Twitter. When was the last time he was interviewed with this interpreter? Like they don't bring him anymore. That shows you that he has no confidence in the world. He doesn't want to talk. And I don't know if he's going to, bash Tocchet for that or what, but I don't know. It's all over.
The interview is going to be very interesting for sure.
Yeah,
to see where things go.
Those are just the fundamental flaws of the team right now. They're just lacking, and this is the product that you get, unfortunately. And injuries just keeping to rise. This is why I had them missing the playoffs this year anyway, being the playoff bubble team. All Flyera, we all announced it, you and Eric as well. We're in that. Not one of us said, yes, the Flyers are definitely a playoff team, right? Because there were too many question marks. Mine was defense. And the defense earlier in the year was playing better than I ever thought. And that's because, Dan Vladar is making insane saves, making saves he shouldn't have had. Now he's making them, but still allowing, that goal. You know what I mean? And it's not Vladar's fault by any means what's transpired here. Actually, I thought he played very well yesterday, to be honest with you. He deserved better, in my opinion. But, they just don't have that goalie in the pipeline that could withstand a Dan Vladar injury. Sam Erson's been playing very bad. So that's not the organization. That's an organizational flaw, not the fault of Tocchet. So I think there's blame to go around for both, to be honest with you. But we're seeing a team that is trying to win hockey games, and that's what Rick Tocchet's telling them to do. It's no longer the development of the young guns. I want to see. You can't even call up people from Lehigh. That's how bad the depth is right now. Alex Bump's hurt. All that stuff is hurt. So
I think he makes
not good in Flyerland.
No, I think you make some fair points for sure, Jamey. Especially with it is a collective issue. It's not just him, but he's doing no favors to this organization, I believe, as a collective whole. But yeah, let's move on to our next topic. So we're pretty much, I think, in agreement this team is not making playoffs. It would take nothing short of a miracle. They would probably have to get close to 40 points in their remaining, 28 games or something like that. I think they have 28 left. They'd probably have to go like 18, 8-2 to even try to convince me they have a shot at playoffs.
Yeah.
So with that being said, gentlemen, is it time to wave the white flag and sell? And who would you consider selling if your answer is yes to that question? Jamey, let me start with you on that one.
They've been in sell mode, in my opinion. I think they should have sold Dvorak. Yes, I know. Like, I understand why they re-signed him, and I'm not necessarily against it. But now they have no trade chips at the deadline, and they should be in sell mode. I tried to sell Samuel Ersson as much as possible. I tried to sell Rasmus Ristolainen, and you know what? I'd even go as far as I want to build around TK. But if that's your only piece, I'd sell Bobby Brink. I'd sell Owen Tippett. There has to be a major trade here, whether that's TK, Bobby Brink, Owen Tippett. Erson's not a major trade, but they have to solidify that backup goaltending role, and they need that, 1D. If you could get a 1D or you could get a first for Risto, you got to make that deal. I know Risto, when healthy, he plays well, and it's not that I want to sell him off, but he just gets injured too much. I'd sell him now while his value is high, to be honest with you. I don't think you get much more for him than what you would right now. So I'd move him. I hate to say this, but I'd possibly move Travis Sanheim as well. Yes, that'd be a big hole to plug, but I think everybody should be on the table minus Mafi Michkov, minus Dan Vladar, I would not sell Noah Cates. I think Noah Cates is too valuable. He's a tough one. That'd be a tough one to replace. I know he hasn't, produced offensively, but he plays well, very well defensively. He'd be had. I'd keep him because you're going to need a center. I'd keep Trevor Zegers and I'd sell the rest.
Can I ask you a quick question though? If you're saying that they're saying that the rebuild is over, and that's why they're in kind of win mode and talk it, then why are you selling everything? That's a team that's in rebuild.
We don't have it. Well, you need to make that deal. They need a 1C, 1D. They're not going to move forward until they get that 1C, 1D. There'll always be a playoff bubble team, Rick. And they might not. The only way to obtain a 1C, 1D is by selling and then trying to nail whatever return you get.
I get that.
So that's why I would sell.
I get that. I understand that, and I agree with you. But they're kind of saying their rebuild's over, and you're saying they need to do what a rebuilding team does.
I'm not saying what a rebuilding team does. I'm saying the team that's given up. It's like at this point, I try to obtain as many assets as possible.
So the rebuild's not over then. That's what I'm saying. So the rebuild.
I think what Jamey was trying to say is.
I get it. It's not. I'm just saying the question is, if they're talking that the rebuild is over, then how can they do all this selling? Because that's not a rebuild that's over.
I understand what you're saying, Rick. Well, I would sell. Here's what I would do. I trade Cam York, Ristolainen, and Owen Tippett for Cole Caulfield.
Yeah. You know what you can do with that, right? You should have picked him. You should have picked him when you had the chance.
All right, Eric. Let me ask you. What about you? What do you think? Is it time to wave the white flag and start selling, and do you have a glimmer of hope still?
Well, if you ask me if I have a glimmer of hope for this season, then I don't think so. I don't believe that.
That's what I was mainly asking. Yes.
Yeah, I don't think they have really have a true chance of making the playoffs. Now, with all the teams that got better in front of them, look, at the beginning of the season, the Atlantic was really struggling, and there was 5 Metro teams in it. Now it's flip flop again, So So look, I think the season. I think the playoffs are a pipe dream at this point. I think we've gone too far. That the losing has is not stopping basically. But now look, I put this out on Twitter and I'm going to share it here. Okay, and that's why I feel like the beginning of the season was kind of a bit of a mirage, and that we got a little too ahead of ourselves of where the team actually is to what they were actually producing. Because look, October and November, okay, the Flyers, hold on, give me a sec. Yeah, the Flyers played 24 games in basically October, November, okay? They won 14. 7 of those wins were in shootouts or overtime. So already half of your wins, you had to get them after regulation, which to me tells me it's like basically less than half of those games was very even and like could have lost in regulation practically. And how many times were we down and had to come back? So we're playing like I think we're just overachieving a little bit at the beginning of the season, and that's I think what sold a lot of false hope to the fans. And like Jamey said, like touching a bit on what Jamey said, and it's like, yes, Tocchet was the wrong coach at this point because Tocchet is a win now coach. And that's why he was the wrong coach for what this team is at the moment. The Flyers are still in a rebuild. That's where they are. They're just in a second phase of the rebuild. We're out of the drafting phase. Now it's time to start making hockey trades. You're not going to sell off players for picks. That's done. That's done. Now is where Briere has to start making the hockey trades. So like we have Owen Tippett, we have Bobby Brink, Noah Cates, Bump in the minors, Bonk. What we have all these multiple draft picks. Now is when we have to take these guys, package them, and get legit NHL talent. Go get your center. Go find that, identify, and make a package and get that center if he is available. At the end of the day, like trades like this, you might end up not necessarily losing the trade, but you might have to overpay because these guys just aren't available. Mm-hmm. And if you want them, you're going to have to pay for it. So look, I'm not saying trade Mishkov, trade Martin, no. But like, if you have to make a massive package, then fucking just go ahead and do it. Now, look, on defense, yes, we don't have a true number one. I don't think we need that guy. Okay, already, like I would focus more on the number one center, and on defense, all we have to look for, and again, I said all we really need. Like these guys are hard to find, also, but like if we could find someone who can play in your top 4, but is a legit power play quarterback, just that would help our defense immensely. That we don't even necessarily need that true number one. Just get us a power play quarterback. If you can make our power play like at least just half decent. Like get it into like the high teens, like low 20s. Just that would make us a huge difference on this team. Plus plus you bring in that extra the true center. So I think that's why. Like, look, this season is done. I'm sorry, this season is done. What do we have to trade? It would have been nice to get rid of Dvorak, but like whatever. That's fine, whatever. But like, look, Bobby Brink. At the end of the day, like you could get something for Brink. Like, do they maybe trade and try and like get a first or something for him? Who knows? I don't know, but like maybe Noah Juleson. Can we get maybe a 5th for this guy? Maybe.
No, we can't do that. That's Tocchet's pet. We can't bring Juleson.
No, take them away. Take them away. I swear to God. Like, take them away. Okay, because now it's getting ridiculous. It's getting absolutely fucking ridiculous. Okay, if he doesn't want to change,
cry.
If Tocchet doesn't want to change, then I'm sorry, Danny, step up and take his fucking toys away. Like, you know, that's why. Like, that's what I said before. I give him credit. He's put Zegras at center, but that's it. That's what I want to see from now until the end of the season. I want to see Zegras sticking at center. I want to see Matvei Mishkov playing more than maybe 9 minutes 5-on-5. Let's give him let's not hold him back at the end of the game. Even if you're tied, I don't give a fuck. He's playing. You want to teach this guy how to play defense? The best way to fucking teach him how to play defense is actually make him play fucking defense at the end of a game. Put him in there to protect the lead or to get it to overtime or whatever. But like, what are we doing? If you're not developing him, you say, oh, he can't play, like he's not great defensively. Well, like put him out there and fucking sink or swim, buddy. Like, come on, this is how you learn. You make mistakes. He makes a mistake. He comes back to the bench. You explain to him what he did wrong. And then next shift, he goes out there and he works on it. By playing him 2 shifts at the end of the game, like, what does that do for the kid? It does absolutely nothing for him. Nothing. And again, we're not, like, who cares if we lose? Who cares? The point is, we have to develop him, and we have to, and not only him, other guys too. Like, even same thing with Grabenkin. Grabenkin too lost some shifts. And honestly, I thought that the Devo, Konecny, Grabenkin line looked really good a couple of games ago. Last game against the Kings, they were okay. But the game before against Boston, I thought they were the Flyers' best line. I thought they were the best line. And even at that, he still removed Grabenkin for a shift and put somebody else there every once in a while. Let the kids play. Let them play. Let them make mistakes. Let them learn from their mistakes. That's what a teaching coach does. That's what a developing coach does. That's not what a win now coach does. And that is the issue right now with this team. So, like, yes, the season is done. The playoffs, take the fucking playoffs out of your head. It's not happening. Right now, you play Zegras at center, you give Mishkov the minutes, and please, God damn it, put him on fucking power play 1, because that's ridiculous. You know that he got 48 seconds of power play time last game? 48 seconds, 1 shift.
I did not know that. They had what, 3 power plays that game?
They had 2. They had 2.
Okay.
They actually scored a power play goal at the end of, I think, the first power play. They scored. They scored like right at the end.
Yeah, I know Zegras spotted one yesterday.
And I think that was the one. He didn't even get a shift on that power play. Mm-hmm. It was the first one. He didn't get a shift on it. And he played 48 seconds of the second one on the second unit. And you know what? I'm going to put this out there because you know what? I think maybe they're not going to fire Tocchet. They're not. I'm sorry. They're not going to do it. He signed a 5-year contract. As much money as Comcast has, there's no goddamn way they're going to pay a coach for 4 years not to coach, especially at the money they can pay him. Then you know what? If we can't fire Tocchet, then we fire, what's his name? Stachkovsky, the power play coach, the offensive coach, out.
How many year contract did he sign?
You're done. You are done. Out.
How many year contract did he sign?
Him, I honestly, the assistants, I have no clue. But I know Tocchet signed 5. He signed 5 for like, I think 5.5 or 5 million.
Yeah, 5 by 5.
That's why. As much as we want to think he's going to get fired, Tocchet is not going anywhere. They will not do it. They will not do it. But we could fire the assistant coach. And look, Mark Savard was running Toronto's power play. Was great for years. This year it wasn't great. But he was the one that was leading that power play. And he had a guy like Mitch Marner that was running his power play. Someone similar in style to a Trevor Zegras. Fucking go hire him. Hire him. Like, we need some creativity offensively. Like, even 5-on-5. Like, our team looks lost right now. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Let's get a forward-thinking offensive coach. If we can't have him as head coach, we have him as an assistant, like an offensive coordinator in football. We need an offensive coordinator for hockey. That's what we need. And to teach these, teach these gifted kids. Yeah, go. No, fuck, no, not Patullo. But like, honestly, like, if we can't replace Tocchet, get somebody that could come in, teach these kids how to play in the offensive zone or just turn the power play around. Because right now it's there's nothing going on. There's nothing going on right now.
So there's some stuff I agree with you. There's actually a few things I disagree with you on this. So I'll start with one of the things I actually disagree. I was on board with kind of running a decor by committee with 2s and 3s for a while until I've seen what has happened with Travis Sanheim over the last few month and a half. And this has been a continuous thing, I feel like, within the last few years. This guy gets run into the ground constantly. And it's not on him. Because at the beginning of each year, this guy looks like the part of a true high-end number 2 defenseman. But year after year, this guy's getting 26, 27 minutes of gameplay and then looks like he's completely tanked by this point of the year, late January. Now, mind you, he's going to be getting 3 weeks off, so he'll probably have a little bit of a rejuvenation when we get
he's
out
playing
of
for Canada.
That's right. He's playing for Team Canada. Never mind. Throw that out the window too.
Well, he might be like a 7th or 8th defenseman, depending on how they
he
go.
won't get the time he gets with Team Canada. Yeah. Obviously, he gets here, but yeah, you make a fair point with that too. I think this team, even if it's not a true number one defenseman, needs the minimum of either a 1B or a 2A. You can't get any worse than that. You need another player at the bare minimum, the quality of Travis Sanheim. In my opinion, maybe even a little bit better than that. And that's where another thing I slightly disagree with you. You say that it's time to potentially make these hockey trades. And I agree in that aspect, but I don't believe it's time to not stockpile a few more assets for the sheer fact that why not bring in more, talent and prospects for this team to potentially stockpile into those trades. So it's kind of part of the course of getting more assets to give you more options for those bigger trades down the line. I actually agree with that aspect. Bobby Brink is a name that should be mentioned. I agree with you there. Even though he's Matvei Michkov's body, it's probably the guy that Michkov is probably the coolest with on this team right now is Bobby Brink. But sacrifices may have to be made, whether it's him, Owen Tippett, eventually Ristolainen. Those are the three most likely names because at the end of the year, Tippett's modified no trade kicks in. So it's going to be a little more difficult to move it. Mind you, it's not impossible, but it does level up the difficulty of potentially wanting to move a guy like him if you want to get some assets for him. This team still needs a 1C. And as you mentioned, those are hard to get. You're going to have to pay to get those, whether you want to get a Robert Thomas or, as Jamey mentioned prior, when he was available, a Jack Eichel, or who knows who else potentially becomes available down there, or maybe for a lesser version of a Shane Wright. Centers are a commodity, which is why it was so bullshit over that Christian Dvorak extension, because they're a dime a dozen. And he's had such a good year. He's still having a decent year. But mind you, he's getting ridiculous minutes now. He got 23 minutes yesterday. 23. Did he ever, Rick, quick question for you. Did he ever sniff that much time in Montreal?
I don't think so.
He was our second line center for like the first.
How many minutes do you think he probably got on average?
He was probably
14, I would say.
23 is probably a little on the high side, but he probably got 18, 20 minutes in his first
18, 20? All right.
Well, he was second line center here.
Obviously, Christian Dvorak hasn't gotten 23 minutes every game, but I think a big part of why he's had a better year is two reasons. One, he's seeing more ice time compared to where he was in his prior stops. And number two, the talent around him on the wing is really good. Trevor Zegers, Travis Konecny, Owen Tippett, for a time, Tyson Forster. You gave him some legit, and Matvei Michkov too, for I think at some point earlier in the year. You gave him some legit wingers to work with. So it probably has elevated his numbers a bit. But at the same, and that's why it would have made so much sense to sell a guy like this where centers are a hot commodity on the trade market. Because Zibanejad, if they do move him in New York, is going to get a good package. Shane Wright, even though he's had a rough time in Seattle, people are going to still look at him at age 22 and think, we can make this guy work still. There's a reason why he was drafted 4th overall. We could make him work. There's going to be other names that are potentially moved too that we haven't really talked about too much yet. Trocheck's another one in New York. They decided to move on from him. That could be a guy that gets him. Robert Thomas being the big fish out in St. Louis. You could have gotten something decent for Christian Dvorak. I am not against bringing in some more draft capital for multiple reasons. Number one, I know it's unlikely for this avenue because you don't see it that often in the draft, especially within the top 10, but just having the possibility of maybe jumping from like an 8 to 6 or something like that. I think today the Flyers are pick 10 if the season ended today? Something like that. So I want this team. I'm with you, Eric. Time to wave the white flag on the season. It's time to sell to some degree. Brink, Ristolainen, Tippett probably being the biggest fish. The only guys I personally would consider, quote unquote, maybe not untouchable, but I would not want to move. The untouchable part is Michkov and Martin. The second tier of guys I would not want to move is Trevor Zegers and Tyson Forster. Everyone else is fair game to me. Now, I'm not in any rush to move a Jamie Drysdale. I'd probably maybe put him in that third tier. But if the right package comes for a center, and that's the guy they're concentrated on, I'd consider it for sure. Cam York's another guy. Yeah, Jamey mentioned him as a trade package potential guy. He's on a pretty friendly contract too. He's like a 5.5 type deal right now, 5.1 mil, something like that. That's pretty good for Cam York. He's, in my opinion, a true number 3 defenseman on a good team. You can convince that for a team to take on. If the opportunity presents itself, I'd move a Cam York. Trying to think of other few names out there. Obviously, we mentioned Bubber. I don't agree with Jamey on Noah Cates. I've listened to some talk to them too, especially if you find it impossible to move Sean Couturier, which is a guy I'm adamant you have to find a way to get away from. He is Rick Tocchet's new pet. So I think this team should be looking to either get some more draft capital or some prospects to bolster what you can make for whether it be future trades or potentially hunting the eventual 1C. The one guy in this draft that if he falls to you, that I'd even take over a center around pick 7-8. I don't know if he gets to this point, but if he does, Chase Reed. That guy is a player. And not only that, he has familiarity with Porter Martone and Shane Finsagi out at Michigan State. That kid is a collective tools of a true number 1 defenseman. That is the one guy, if you're around that pick range, I would take over a center. But the Flyers may need to consider, if this is where we end up, because they're not going to get pick 1 unless if they win the lottery. That's likely going to go to Vancouver. They got a bit of a gap. I still think sniffing the top 5 is possible. You're not too far out of it. Just another thing to mention, Ottawa's first round pick is forfeited. Don't worry about that team. So no matter what, you're going to pick ahead of Ottawa. But you look at the standings right now, as of today, they're 24th in the league. And some of the teams that are right around them, New Jersey, they're tied with points with them. You've got a game in hand on New Jersey. They could pass you still. Nashville, tied with games played. They are only 2 points behind them. Nashville has a tiebreaker in regulation wins by 1. They could pass you. Winnipeg is the next team, but they're all the way down to 51. So right now, I mean, this obviously could change a month and a half from now, but right now, the 6th pick or 7th pick is probably the best case scenario. So I do think you've got to try to get a little worse just this year. And then during the summer, as you mentioned, try to make those trades, whether it's at the draft, after the draft, whatever. You could potentially get some more assets to get those type of trades. Ristolainen, Brink, and Tippett are the 3 most likely candidates for me, especially if Demba Barkey's going to stick here next year and then eventually Tyson Forster is going to come back. You've got to make a decision. Someone's gone. And Brink and Tippett are the 2 most likely candidates. And I will fight for Tyson Forster, being the number 1 fan of the Tyson Forster fan club. So the one final point I want to add for this before I kick it back to you, Rick Tocchet. I agreed with you a week ago that it was probably a 0% chance he's fired. I no longer think it's 0. I still think he stays before I get there. I no longer think it's 0. He's a one and done. Because as we're recording this right now, I'm seeing a lot of negative reactions about his interview on Philly Flyer. But I'll go a little deeper into that. But the stuff that's happened over the last few weeks and how down this locker room is, and then what happened yesterday in Los Angeles, John Tortorella's contract's off the books after this year. So you don't have to worry about paying him anymore. So if they do, you're only having 1 extra coach to pay. Obviously, it's 4 years, so that is a lengthy time frame. I still think he stays, but I think he's on a short leash next year if they bring him back. I think I'll bring it up from 0 to 10% today. That number will change. It could go back down to 0 as the year goes on. But right now, I'm bringing that number from 0 to 10. I think Danny and Jonesy need to have a sit down with him during the Olympic break and say, listen, this shit needs to fucking change with 39. You've got to play him more. Because if we come back from the Olympic break, Michkov getting 3 weeks to rest now, get his stamina back up, to work out a little bit. He's obviously not going to be at 100% conditioning, but it'll help him a little bit getting that 3-week break. If you are still not playing him that time frame, that number is going to keep going up. I'm sorry. I know people are going to say it's a cliche to just point to his ice time, but that's part of it. You mentioned the shifts in the third period. He played not to lose yesterday against the Kings, 5 shifts for your fucking 4C in the final 10 minutes while Michkov got 2. Is his shifts a little shorter? Yes. Is it conditioning related? Could be, but I don't know for sure. And we're going to see. This is going to be, I think we're really going to see a lot what we're going to see out of him as we go into March. As the final 26, once this break ends, the final 26 games are upon us. He wants to prove himself to stay here. You better show me something these last 26 games, me personally. I don't think it's 0. I do think it's low, but I don't think it's 0 that he's a one-and-done coach. I truly believe that. I understand the money perspective, but with John Tortorella's contract being off the books, I could at least see there being an argument where they may actually look at this and say, we messed up, we got to fix this. But that's my point on that. Eric, anything else to add before we move on to our final next and final topic and then next week's games?
Yeah, I just want to touch on a couple of things, like, because when we're talking about like what do we have to sell and whatever, like, and gaining assets, like I agree with you in the fact that, like, yes, like it wouldn't hurt obviously if we sell off like some things before the deadline and we get like some draft picks or whatever. But like for me, if it's like trading Noah Cates or Owen Tippett for futures and assets, it makes no sense for the Flyers, because at the end of the day, like now you're weakening your pool, you're weakening your what's the word I'm looking for? Your depth. Like basically now, like if you're trading them for like firsts and seconds and maybe a prospect who's not ready, you know, like then who's gonna replace them? Yes, you have Martin coming, you have Bump, but then if you insert them into the lineup, but then who's behind them? Then there's like literally nobody. So for me, like, look, someone like Brink, yes, like Brink, Juleson, Brink, Juleson, and maybe Risto. Like, if you could get something at the deadline, like picks wise or whatever, or prospect wise, yeah, fine. Like I do it. Because at the end of the day, like, look, Marton's coming most probably at the end of the year. You have Denver Barkey, who basically is Bobby Brink, but better. Like, in my opinion,
he ain't going back to the AHL. He's earned his spot here.
No, he's clearly not. So, like, for me, that just makes Brink completely expendable. Now, look, if you could package him in a trade to bring a different player in that, like, possibly a different position, that more of a position of need, fine. But Bobby Brink, for me, is not the guy, is not the piece that's going to do that. Like, he might be a throw-in, but if there's a team that's desperate enough, like at the deadline, that wants to throw you a first for Bobby Brink, like
that's a win.
Or a conditional first. Let's say a conditional first, because it's definitely not going to be like fucking, but like, you know, something like that, like a pick that might end up being like 28 to 32 or 26 to 32. Okay, you know what? Yeah,
Minnesota makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Hometown team needs some winger help. I could see the Wild throw hit in the bone.
Exactly. There's multiple teams I could use like a Bobby Brink on a third line. Like, great, but just for us, Bobby Brink right now is more of a luxury than a necessity. So it's like, okay, he's somebody that at the deadline, man, if I'm Danny, I'm on the phones. Like, what are you giving for this guy? You know? And that's it. And like, same thing with Juleson. Like, get him if you can get even a fucking 6, like, who cares? Like, get rid of him. He's useless. Call up Ty Murchison. He had a great, he finished the season really great. Give him a shot. Or I don't know how he's doing, but you know what? I know he struggled like in camp, but like Helge Grans, give him one last shot. Call him up, give him one last shot. See what he has. Find out. And if you give him 2-3 games in the NHL and like he really shows you like nothing, then at least you know. And you're like, okay, ciao. Like, we could trade him too, where we can not qualify him or whatever, depending whenever his contract is up. But like right now, like that's it. Someone like Juleson that a team maybe could use as a 7 or 8 defenseman in the playoffs. Like, get rid of him. There's no point in keeping him. There is no point. He has to be gone. And look, Risto, I think like his trade value might have gone down with all the injuries lately. So for me, I think depending on the price that someone was willing to give up, I think you're just better off keeping him and just like hoping for the best, because he'll be a UFA the year after. So at least, you know what, worst case, you can always trade him then or in the offseason or package him also. But anyway, just that. And one last thing. This is actually a question for you. I thought of this when you were going off before. You only get to choose one, Alex. One. Okay? The Flyers buy out Couturier, or the Flyers fire Talkett now. But only one can happen. And
actually, that's easy. I'm going to tell you that's easy.
It's at least 3 more years of Tocchet. It's at least 3 more years of Tocchet. Which would you rather?
Fire Tocchet now, or have 3 more years of him, or buy out Couturier right now?
Yeah.
Fire Tocchet. That's not even a question to me.
Okay. No, I just want
two reasons on that. Number one, buying out Couturier, you save $1 million. Who cares? Like, I still believe there is a semi-trade package you can make eating this contract. Number two, if we keep talking for 3 more years, I'll jump off a bridge. It's firing Tocchet. It's not even a question to me.
I have a question on that. I have a question for you on that. If you're going to fire Tocchet, don't you think that Danny Briere has a lot of responsibility there in hiring him and maybe should lose his job over the way it's been going?
I will say this with Danny. I personally would not fire Danny right away for 2 reasons. Number one, he recognized the issue, and that takes balls than going out with the ship. He recognized he fucked up, and he's taking it on the chin. And number two, it means he cares about his young talent more than the bonehead coach. You do those two, to me, that shows some cojones. Because then the next thing he would do is realize, like he did in 2022, is get rid of the potential bad eggs in this locker room. That AKA Sean Couturier. Now, mind you, are you going to get much for Coots? No. Are you going to get that whole contract off the books? Probably not, barring a miracle. You can talk me into eating half of that deal for the next 4 years, and yes, I get it. Having eat almost $4 million for 4 years, but with the cap going up, you're not going to be feeling it as much. It's not a flat cap anymore. The cap is steadily going up over these next few years, so it's not going to be nearly as bad. Eat that contract, even if you have to attach maybe like a 3rd-round pick to a team or something like that to eat him for whatever. I do it. I need him out of here. We need to move past the remnants of the Claude Giroux era. And I love Giroux.
Here's my prediction. Tocchet's here for the next 2 seasons after this one. Before they can fire him. He's here for and if they fire him before that, it's because it's coming above Briere, and Briere's going to go at the same time.
But you see, also, like, I want to answer your question too, Rick. First of all, like, I like Briere, and I like a lot of the moves. Like, that's why, like, last episode when we were talking about like what's your like 8 on 10, like, you know, what do you give the rebuild so far? And I said an 8. And I was trying to also say, like, it's like a hard 8, not like 8.1, 8. Like, it's really like I could have even said like 7.9. But like, basically for me, Briere has done a lot more good than bad. And I also said this on a previous episode. I'm like, look, I don't have this under good authority. I don't have any source. I just have a strong feeling and a belief that Tocchet was not Briere's hire, that he was forced onto Briere. And a lot of it comes from the press conference after they hired him and the words that Briere used. And there was a phrase where he goes, when someone like Tocchet becomes available, you hire a Tocchet. That to me sounded more like it came from upstairs, basically saying, like, Danny, choose whoever you want. But if Tocchet does become available, you're hiring Rick Tocchet. That's basically the sentiment that, like, that's what, again, I don't have this on the good authority. No one's told me this, but there's just a couple things that he said in that interview. And there's a couple things that he had said afterwards too, like that I can't remember off the top of my head. Remember, I wrote like a thread about it a while ago on Twitter. There's just, I strongly do not believe Tocchet was Briere's hire. And again, but that goes to show, like, if that's the case, if the president or even the whatever, if Jonesy or Hilferty or whatever is telling you as a GM what to do, like, I don't like that. I really don't. And so, like, I don't want to say like Briere's completely not to blame. Like, wait, look, what was Briere supposed to do? Say like, well, I'm not hiring him. It's either him or me. Like,
yeah,
you know, like,
and they could just kind of hire him anyway.
So look, that's why I don't really put this as much on Briere, but because even at that, like, Briere's, even everything that he's talked about, like, since when he took over till now, how he envisions the team playing, how he envisions to build the team. And then you hire a guy like Tocchet, which is almost like the opposite of your vision. That's why, for me, it's like you start putting little pins here and there, and you're like, well, how does this make sense? How was this his hire? I'm telling you, I have, like, again, it's a personal feeling. I just really don't think it was Beer's guy. I don't.
Yeah. I don't personally agree with that. Last thing for me, I think it was his hire, and I think the fact that they decided to go and say the rebuild's over, and a few other things I've seen from Briere.
They never said the rebuild's over.
Well, by hiring Tocchet
in the next phase. That's what I was trying to correct Jamey.
Wait, you know, let me. By hiring Tocchet, you guys all agreed that's the signal that they're saying the rebuild's over. You guys said that earlier.
No, listen.
Jamey said that.
Jamey said that. We never fully agreed with that.
Okay,
that's what I was trying to correct. What Jamey was trying to say.
But let me finish my. I think I've seen mistakes by Briere that I kind of think if they have to fire Tocchet, Briere goes as well. I just think he's made some
if it goes
mistakes.
to like 3 years and they fire him, then I think yes. But right now, no.
Tocchet's here for 3. If it's 5 years, he was signed for 5. He's here for 3.
Like in all honesty, okay. Like let's look. Like I know we're this a little off topic, but like look at Briere's tenure so far. The only thing that you could really give him like a little bit of grief, the Luchenko pick and the Nesbitt pick. Those two, yes. Like I'll give it to you. Like very possibly. Like look, Ziv Buyam was there, Hellenius was there. You decide to go with Luchenko. Fine. But that's also a time will tell. You don't know. Same thing with Nesbitt. Time will tell. You don't know. I didn't like the pick, but again, I'm not going to judge it now. I'm going to judge it in 5 years from now or 3 years from now, whenever these guys actually come to the NHL and become whatever they become. But other than that, like he got rid of Provorov. He got rid of the bad eggs, and he got good returns for them. Like he's not lost a trade.
He's not that he's been bad. I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying he's going to get fired, because I think Tocchet's here for 3 years and he's here for another 3 as well, at least.
No, and then look at what he did in the offseason. He got Z. First of all, he signed Ryan Poehling 2 years ago for nothing. He just signed him for nothing and then flipped him and turned him into basically Trevor Zegras with a second for Trevor Zegras.
He made some really good moves. And I'm not saying no.
But that's what I'm saying. But like, and not only you, Rick, but like you're starting to hear it a lot on Twitter. Oh, we got to fire Briere. We got to fire Briere. Why? He told you what his plan was at the beginning. He's basically doing his plan. He's made like really good moves. And like, yes, look, the coach, it's not going well right now. And the Devo extension is the only one where you're like, but again, you could kind of you see where the
understand why.
Is also the Devo extension.
You can understand why.
It's something I don't agree with, but
you're right.
But like honestly, I can't say like he's done a lot more good than bad. So
I'm basically saying I think that the hire was his hire. I really do. I think it was. And if Tocchet pays the price, he'll pay the price. I don't think Tocchet will pay the price. I think he's going to be here another 2 years after this minimum. I really do.
Usually they say coaches get GMs get at least 2 coaches. So this is technically Briere's first because he inherited towards.
But 5 years. No, they're not firing him. He's got another 2 after.
No,
he's
that's one of the very.
I think right now, like I say, it's a 10% chance he is fired. As of today's recording, I give it a 10% chance Tocchet is fired at the end of the year. That number is subject to change. Could go down, could go up. But that's where I have it right now.
I kind of think every coach is
the team has to have a good season for him to stay. Otherwise, if they have a bad start to begin year 2 and say they start like 8-13-3, he's out the door. They're not going to put up with this. He will be fired.
I think you're wrong. On that, I think you're wrong. On that, I really do think you're wrong.
Because if you're bringing in a coach like that to try to push this team to start winning now, this is another thing I can't stand what people say. And let me stand this. People looked at him as this messiah, that like this guy who is a coach that really knows how to get the best out of his teams. What has he done in his prior regime to show that? This is going to be the 10th year of his coaching career. He has 1 legitimate playoff appearance. And I said this last week. I'm not giving him 1920 because that was a bubble year. He was in his 11 seed then. You don't get that. You got in that a technicality then. One legit playoff. Now, mind you, he was good in 23-24. I'll give him that. The team he led that Canucks team to what, 109-point year or something like that, won the Jack Adams. Fine, so be it. If you want to add a sake of argument, give him that. Cool. What happened to Vancouver the next year? That team thing turned into a fucking catastrophe. And who was the head coach behind that catastrophe? He was. Now that type of catastrophe, maybe not to the degree that happened in Vancouver, but we're seeing cracks of it with Matvei Michkov. We're starting to see cracks of it with him loving his guys like Christian Dvorak and Sean Couturier and Noah Juleson. We're seeing the cracks of not the same exact situation, but another fucking drama-filled headache. One thing that we talked about is these things never came out in the light of day before Talkie came here. When the whole thing with Cutter Gauthier happened, there wasn't a peep about him wanting to leave this organization. Now you're seeing the shit, as we mentioned prior, with the Spit and Chicklets crew, who, funny enough, is now very quiet. Now that the team is starting to fucking free fall, they're 2-8-3 in their last 13. That's the thing. 10% chance Talkie gets fired right now. We revisit this in a month. That number can change very quickly in my eyes. Because if this starts going south, and God forbid, I don't think this happens, but I'm still saying God forbid it, in a hypothetical scenario, Matvei Michkov starts getting frustrated with his situation towards the end of the year and maybe beginning of next year. If he does put in the work and he still gets the lack of ice time, who are you going to choose? The right that you guys looked at as the second best player in the draft in 2023, or this bonehead that's done nothing to show to me that he's a legitimate winning coach? He knows how to make bad teams less bad, but still not good enough to be fucking real competitors in the big picture. Aside from 23-24, he's had in 10 years, he's had one legitimate playoff appearance. Numbers speak for themselves.
Let me ask you this then. Who's going to fire Tocchet then? If he was hired because they wanted him from up high, who's going to fire him? They're not.
Well, I wonder if people may have changed their opinion on him.
Okay, maybe. There's maybe that.
Maybe Jones and Hilferty changed their opinion on him, or Bobby Clark, or whoever.
Maybe not. But if Briere fires him and they don't want him to, and they force him on him, he's going to get fired.
Well, that's a different argument. But I have a feeling they're looking at it now.
I just thought I'd put that out there. So just being in. Anyways, thanks for hearing me out.
No problem. Let's move on to our next topic because we were on this quite a bit. Travis Konecny's comments. So TK had a fantastic week. No question about it. Best player on the Flyers this week. 5 goals, 2 assists, 7 points in his last 3 games. He's been on a tear. He clearly cares about this team. He clearly wants this team to win. And he had some depressing quotes, man. He pretty much came out and said after that Boston game that I've seen this so many times. I just want to win. I want to get this team some points. And it sounded like he was really defeated. Now, I look at Travis Konecny to a lesser extent, the 2020s version of what we saw in Claude Giroux. To a much lesser extent, mind you. Konecny is not the player Claude Giroux is, but he's like their veteran guy that has continuously produced despite the teams around him. Eric, what is your take on those comments? And do you think this could be the signaling of Travis Konecny maybe considering the wave is no movement? Or do you think it's just him speaking out of frustration game after game and he wants to still stay here and try to make this team a winner?
Yeah, I think it's he's just talking out of frustration. I don't see him waving his no move. I think he likes it here in Philly. I think I'm sure he can see like where this thing is going. And like, look, the problem with Konecny is that like, look, he's kind of gone through 2, like at least before Briere, this era here, like 2 different eras where it's like kind of like rebuild, retool, and it's like a lot of losing, a lot of like seeing your friends come and go. So it must be definitely taking a toll on him, you know. So look, I don't think he's gonna ask for a trade. I don't think it's his style. But like, look, if he does, if ever he would say, you know what, maybe this is not like it's not for me. I'd like to go to a winner, like getting to a certain age, blah blah blah. Then look, I think we could get a really fucking great return for Konecny. I just don't think that's in the cards. I don't think he wants it. I don't think the team wants it either. Unfortunately, like I thought I thought this at the time, but like whatever. But like I thought he should have got the C. Like he should.
I agree, 100%.
Like for me, it was between him and Lots, and like I understand why Lots didn't get it because he was getting traded. Like they knew, like you were shipping him out. I thought Konecny should have got the C, but whatever. And yeah, then like look, I know there's like some people do have hate on him, and like look, myself too. This year, like I've ripped into him, but like at the end of the day, like it's because I want the best for Travis Konecny. I know what Travis Konecny could be, and like look, he's showing it now. Like he's making a lot less mistakes. He's getting on the scoreboard. He's playing a lot better, and he's a good player. And players like him, and I've said the same thing with Mishkov. It's like players like him, yes, they're gonna make mistakes, but sometimes you just have to live with the mistakes.
Good with the bad.
You know, and that's why I get frustrated. A little off topic, but that's why I get frustrated with what Talk is doing with Mishkov, and it's like trying to completely change his game because he's like, well, it's because like he makes too many mistakes on the right side or whatever. But I'm like, but that's his game. That's how he plays. You got to live with the mistakes sometimes. Like, anyway, whatever. I don't want to get too much off topic, but like, look, it's basically what he's echoing. I think also Tiki is echoing a lot of what the team feels like. They're frustrated. At the end of the day, they're frustrated. They see the talent that's on the team, and like I said, maybe they overachieved at the beginning of the season, but like right now, I think to their level, like to the talent on this team, they're underachieving.
Yeah.
So I think he sees that, and it's frustrating. Honestly, I don't blame him. Like, fuck, how many times this week we're down 2-0, we're down 3-0. Like, fuck, like at a certain point, like you can't keep on coming back like multi-goal deficits. Like, like it starts like wearing on the team and on the players, and also. Anyway, again, like a little bit off topic, and I want to ask actually you, Alex, like if you've noticed, like even the defensive structure I feel like teams are adapting because we play like a passive zone, and I feel like a lot of teams are adapting to it. And if you notice, they're scoring a lot from the high slot, and it's like they kind of circle, make our guys kind of get lost in coverage, and then it ends up in the high slot, and then takes a shot and they scores. And it's like so, like I don't know, like. Is it like the teams, like the players being frustrated, so they're abandoning the system, or is it just like teams have adapted to the system and that's starting to wear on the players also? Like I don't know. But at the end of the day, look, I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's just echoing team, basically through himself. He's echoing team frustration.
I don't think he does wave either. I think he lives the off season in Calgary, right? If I remember correctly.
Not 100% sure, but I think it is somewhere out west.
His family lives in Calgary in the off season, so I think he brings his kids to school here and whatnot throughout the season, and then makes his way there through his summer home in Calgary at the end of the year. So it would be a bit uprooting his family. There's a reason he signed the no movement clause, but I also think that he saw the vision in this, and I think he was hoping this year they would be taking a more of a step forward. And, the first half of the season, it kind of looked like it in the first 41 games. Well, the last 13, you're seeing what this team has been at its lowest, where they go on these ruts and kind of free fall. This year, usually there's always 1 month of the season that kills them. This year it was January. No question about it. And you go, I think it was right when the new year turned, shit went to shit. When they came back after that Anaheim game going into Toronto, that's when the shit really hit the fan. They're 2-8-3 in their last 13. It kind of killed their momentum and hope for a run this season. And I don't think Konecny waves at least now, but I do think for the first time maybe it has entered his mind. Him and Tippett had a bit of a discussion at the end of that Bruins game. I noticed off to the side of the ice. And I do wonder what that was about. How do I think that they've completely packed it in? Those guys? No. But I do think some guys on this team may have started to just kind of say whatever at this point. But with Konecny, I do think that at the end of the day, he is looking at this situation and saying, not yet. I don't think he waives this offseason. But next season, if this continues, I do wonder if this is something that might start to fester more and more. Because any athlete wants to win when they're playing in the NHL. He's been on this team. He debuted in what, 2017, I want to say?
I want to say 2016, but could be wrong. I have it up here.
I think 2017 was his first year. I think and since then,
16-17 was his first season.
Huh?
16-17 was his first season.
Okay, so 16-17. I count that as more as 17. So the 16-17 season was his first year in the NHL. So we're looking at his 9th year now, I want to say. He's made the playoffs twice here. Once through the bubble. Mind you, they would have made the playoffs anyway that year in the bubble. They were a wagon in 1920. And that is the biggest is what would have happened to that Philadelphia Flyers team if the world didn't end, because they were fucking steamrolling everyone. They were a complete war tank before they finally lost to the Bruins. And even that game against the Bruins, they completely outplayed them. But again, not to go too off topic. Made the playoffs twice. Then in 17-18. And in 17-18, they were carried by Claude Giroux and Shane Goss's pair. Those two guys went to work for this team to get them into the playoffs that season. And I look now, and this is going to be a 6th straight year not making the playoffs. When you're a competitor, you want to eventually get there. I think him and Danny are going to have a sit-down this offseason about where he sees the vision of this team. And Danny's going to have to really talk him into, we're going to make real pushes this offseason. That's why I still think it's still unlikely Tocchet gets fired, but I do think the possibility is there. But I think Danny and TK being one of the leaders of this team, are going to have a sit down. I think one of the main things is to get Coots off of this roster and to try and get some legitimate center help to maybe make this team more competitive. Michkov is going to get his opportunity to train in Voorhees over the Olympic break in the offseason. And, you're going to add Porter Martone to this team too. It'll be a little bit of addition by subtraction and a little bit of trying to get your younger guys to get more of an opportunity. So with that being said, with Konecny, I think they do convince him at least another year that there's light at the end of the tunnel. But if they're continuing to struggle next year, 26-27, I do think they're going to look at this and say, Travis, ball's in your court. If you want to waive, I understand. We'll try to find you a good opportunity to go win elsewhere. We get it. But if they can show improvement next year, really push for a playoff spot, I think he stays. This year, I don't think he waives, but I think the first seed has been planted where he may actually consider it. Not this year, but next year. But it all depends what the team is like in 26-27. But for now, I think he stays. I don't think he wants to uproot anything yet, but I do think for the first time it is a possibility. But that's just me. Eric, anything else to add before we move on to next week's games?
No, that's it, man.
All right. So with that being said, let's move on to next week's games. There's only 2 next week. For the first time this year, they play the Washington Capitals. It's kind of crazy. You haven't played them yet. February 3rd. And after the Capitals, the only team they will have not played this season is the Detroit Red Wings. So February 3rd against Capitals, February 5th against the Ottawa Senators. With that being said, Eric, ball's in your court. What do you think this week? That's right. Actually, they haven't played Winnipeg either. I want to fix that. They have not played the Winnipeg Jets yet either. So there's 2 teams they haven't played yet this year. Sorry. Want to fix it.
Okay. I want to say 1-1, but I'm feeling more 0-2. Washington and Ottawa both fighting, to keep their playoff hopes alive. Also, both teams have started who are kind of on a bit of a downturn have started to like pick it back up this little last while. So I'm assuming they both want to, try and like pick up as many points as they can before the Olympic break. So you know what? I'm going 1-2. I think they lose to Washington and Ottawa, both at home, unfortunately. And just honestly, look, you look at the LA Kings game. Yeah, I thought they played pretty well in the first they didn't no-showed. They played better in the second and the third, but like, if they can't, they have to stop. They have to, like, this lifelessness or whatever. It has to stop. So I don't know. I'm just gonna assume it continues. Maybe one of those losses in overtime or a shootout. I don't know, but I predict 2 losses.
Lose to Washington 5-2. Beat Ottawa 3-2 in a game that Dan Vladar steals. I'm gonna say in a game they don't feel like they play all that great, but Vladar steals. And they'll go into the break with a record of 25-21-10, and with 60 points. They're probably going to end with somewhere in the low 80s for points this year, I'm going to guess. But I'll say 25-21-10. Yeah, that's where I have them. I do think Konecny does keep his hot streak going. I think he gets another 2 goals this week. He's been great. Again, going back to last topic, I feel for the guy. I want to see him win. I agree with you. I think if Couturier is sent packing this offseason, there is a real chance Travis Konecny gets to see on its jersey next year. But we'll see. Time will tell. But Eric, any final thoughts before we wrap things up?
Just one last quick little thought. Carl Grunstrom hasn't played the last couple games. He's been a healthy scratch. Like, can we get him back in the lineup? Like, Delory does fucking nothing for me. Like, why was he even playing against the Kings? Like, I don't get it. Like, he even got that too many men penalty at, like, I think it was in the first period. Like, why? Like, but you see, like, again, these are the things that Tocchet does that like infuriate me. So it's like, because like, again, like that stupid too many men penalty. Let's see if next game he gets scratched. I swear to God, if Delory is in the lineup again next game, and you're a coach who talks about accountability, but yet, like, again, you're giving him a 3rd game in a row and he brings absolutely fucking nothing to the table. Like, come on. Let's and also, like, I put on a tweet, quickly. I'd like to actually see Grunstrom on the line with Zegras and Mishkov. Actually take Bobby Brink off that line, put Mishkov on the right side where he wants to play, Grunstrom on the left. Grunstrom brings that physicality to that line, a guy that could create space for both Zegras and Mishkov, who's good on the forecheck, because, like, obviously, like, if you're going to dump it in, well, who's the fuck is going to go retrieve that puck? Send Grunstrom. He's going to go fucking retrieve it. So, like, I would just, like, something to try. And then if you could put Brink on this, like, again, he shouldn't be playing on a 4th line, but, like, if you can have a 4th line of, like, Brink, Coots, and Hathaway, at least that's a 4th line that could even score a little bit, give you, like, a little bit more, maybe a little bit more possession, a little bit more of a scoring threat. So it would really balance the lines out. Like, I think it would just balance the lines out a little better, give a little extra edge to the Zegras line and a little extra scoring to the forward. So that's final thought.
Gotcha. For me, it's last thought I have before we wrap this up is give Michkov ice time. I've hammered that bell a bajillion times, but I'd like to see them actually give Grabanking some legitimate ice time too. Like, he's played well lately. Give him his chances. But that's going to do it for this week's episode of Flyera. Thank you all for tuning in. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. We are getting very close to our goal of 500 subs. Now up to 337, 163 away. Each and every like, comment, subscription is very helpful and appreciated. And yeah, again, tune in 2 weeks from now. We will be having Jim Jackson on the show. Look forward to talking to him. Yep. Again, that's going to do it. Take care, everyone. And as always, let's go Flyers.